This revolution with industry was fought mercilessly by those who blindly believed their right to uncontrolled profits was a law of the universe. And without the maintenance of the old order, catastrophe faced the nation. History is a great teacher, and now everyone knows that the labor movement did not diminish the strength of the nation, but enlarged it. By raising the living standards of millions, labor miraculously created a market for industry and lifted the whole nation to undreamed levels of production. Those who attacked labor forgot these simple truths, but history remembers them. Labor's next monumental struggle emerged in the 30s, when it wrote into federal law the right freely to organize and bargain collectively. It was now apparently emancipated. The days when workers were jailed for organizing, and when in the English Parliament Lord Macaulay had to debate against a bill decreeing the death penalty for anyone engaging in a strike, were grim, but almost forgotten memories. Yet the Wagner Act, like any other legislation, tending merely to declare rights, but did not deliver them. Excuse me. Labor had to bring the law to life by exercising its rights in practice over stubborn, tenacious opposition. It was warned to go slow, to be moderate, not to stir up strife. But labor knew it was right, always the right time to do what was right. And it spread its organization over the nation and achieved equality organizationally with capital. The day of economic democracy was born. Negroes in the United States read this history of labor and find it mirrors their own experience. We are confronted by powerful forces telling us to rely on the goodwill and understanding of those who profit by exploiting us. They deplore our discontent. They resent our will to organize so that we may guarantee that humanity will prevail and equality will be exacted. They are shocked that action organizations, sit-ins, civil disobedience, and protests are becoming our everyday tools. Just as strikes, demonstrations, and union organization became yours to ensure that bargaining power genuinely existed on both sides of the table. We want to rely upon the goodwill of those who oppose us. Indeed, we have brought forward the method of nonviolence to give us an example of unilateral goodwill in an effort to evoke it in those who have not yet felt it in their hearts. But we know that if we are not simultaneously organizing our strength, we will have no means to move forward. If we do not advance, the crushing burden of centuries of neglect and economic deprivation will destroy our will, our spirits, and our hopes. In this way, labor's historic tradition of moving forward to create vital people as consumers and citizens has become our own tradition, and for the same reasons. This unity of purpose is not an historical coincidence. Negroes are almost entirely a working people. There are pitifully few Negro millionaires and few Negro employers. Our needs are identical with labor's needs. Decent wages, fair working conditions, livable housing, old age security, health and welfare measures, conditions in which families can grow, have education for their children, and respect in the community. That is why Negroes support labor's demands and fight laws which curb labor. That is why the labor hater and the labor baiter is virtually always a twin-headed creature, spewing anti-Negro epithets from one mouth and anti-labor epithets from the other mouth. The duality of interests of labor and Negroes makes any crisis which lacerated you a crisis from which we bleed. As we stand on the threshold of the second half of the 20th century, a crisis confronts us both. Those who in the second half of the 19th century could not tolerate organized labor have had a rebirth of power and seek to regain the despotism of that era while retaining the wealth and privileges of the 20th century. Were it to be the ultra-right wing in the form of birch societies, or the alliance which former President Eisenhower denounced, the alliance between big military and big industry, or the coalition of Southern Dixiecrats and Northern reactionaries, whatever the form, these menaces now threaten everything decent and fair in American life. Their target is labor, liberals, and the Negro people, not scattered Reds or even Justice Warren, former Presidents Eisenhower and Truman, or President Kennedy, who are in truth beyond the reach of their crude and vicious falsehoods. Labor today faces a grave crisis, perhaps the most calamitous since it began its march from the shadows of want and insecurity. and the next 10 to 20 years, automation will grind jobs into dust as it grinds out unbelievable volumes of production. This period is made to order for those who would seek to drive labor into impotency by viciously attacking it at every point of weakness.